Welcome to the Africa2100 Podcast. I'm your host, Judy Obiaya. This season, we are following the journey of Africans who were previously in the diaspora, but since returned back to the continent and are building impactful ventures. For those of you thinking about investing or relocating back to build a venture on the continent, you want to see today's episode because we have Roland Ohene-Amoako, our guests on today's episode. Roland is the founder and CEO of the Native Group. Welcome, Roland.
Thank you. Thank you, Shadif. Thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Roland, can you get us started by sharing with us how you would describe yourself, your background, the work that you do?
Okay. My name is Roland, as you mentioned, with a kind introduction. I am a managing partner at the Share Native and the CEO of one of our subsidiary, that is the Continent Life. And I also serve as the president. I call my part-time job at the Share Native, our main anchor company. My background starts from move born in Ghana, moved to the United States at a certain point of my life when I was a teenager, going to high school in America, and then one day decided to come home and fix a few issues we had in our business. And since then, I've been living in Ghana, and it's almost 10 years now. Background wise, I have been in logistics, retail, and mainly for a few years in business. I was in media and e-commerce. But now, for the past 6 to 7 years, my main focus has been in manufacturing. Still do a bit of the media and entertainment and a bit of tech. I doubled in technology in the past and still double in technology as well to today.
How was that transition when you decided to move to the States and settling in? Because you moved to North Carolina, or was that?
Yes, Greensboro, North Carolina.
Mm.
It was a heavy culture shock in a few ways. I had never in Ghana. Being black is not a thing in Africa. Being black is is more tribal. So being for the first time moving to a country where Ghana's leaders were all dark skinned like myself. My dad, my uncles, everyone was dark skinned. There's so much pride in our culture. Moving to America and moving into the South itself, I noticed I was black. That was one culture shock. High school is different. It was a different experience going from middle school here and a little bit of high school here and going to an American high school was quite different. Being able people noticing you because of your color was a new experience for me. Adapting to the system. There's in Ghana, most people don't think there's a system here, but we do have a system based on our culture and how the country over the years have been structured. But in America has its own unique way of doing things. The language itself, we do English in the British style, how we spell and everything. Having to relearn all those in the middle of high school and trying to catch up was they were all just new to me. And a year or two took me some time to catch up with how the system works. But when I did, I think I felt a bit stabilized, but I always knew I was going to go back home.
So, how did you cope with that culture shock, as I hear you describe it?
Yeah. Um, I found Africans who had moved to America and we formed our own little, it's not just Africans, Eastern Europeans as well, too. We formed our own little group of migrants who had come in for the first time, who were in high school. So we found our own little community and we bonded, and honestly people left us alone and were able to do this. Half of them are doing incredible in their businesses and half of them are doing incredible in their careers, but then it helped give me a global network of people who live in Europe, people who live in Asia to this day that I can literally pick up. So the tribulation was able to build my network.
You said I knew I had to move back. Can you tell
Yeah.
us some more what you were thinking or how you arrived at that conclusion, that determination?
Growing up, I always thought I was going to work for my father and eventually take over his business. He was a mechanical engineer, and he used to service a bunch of the government cars as well as um, other cars that were needed in companies. So he had a lot of contracts in that regard. Also working on opening filling stations with service stations attached to them. So he conversations being even a child, he was like, "You're going to go take science because I want you to do this." And in my mind, my life was already pre-planned. After he passed, that was a shock. When I moved to the state, the first 2 weeks, I told my mom like, I'm going back to go and continue what my dad started, thinking that that's exactly what I wanted to do, and my entire family too is basically full of entrepreneurs. So I never saw myself not going back home to continue what he started, but I just didn't know how back then.
So, entrepreneurship is something you had an affinity for and interest in, but not entrepreneurship while you were in the US.
Um, there was a little bit of entrepreneurship when I was in the US. While I was working, grew up with my oldest friend to this day. We decided to just make sure we stuck together even when I was in the US. Through Facebook, we connected and launched a media company called 233 Life. It was on radio. It was a platform where we used to play our music and also try to connect with artists from Ghana to be able to bring them to the States. Whilst doing that, we discovered that fashion was another big thing of ours that we could connect, find a way to, sell our clothes and sell our things to the States. So in high school, we built a platform called Couture Africa, an e-commerce platform. I miss having my clothes how I used to have it in Ghana, and a few of my friends there, especially the females, wanted straight from Africa clothes. So we built the e-commerce, and that was our first heavy venture into business. Whilst we were young. So, and the taste
At
of
this
that I'm
time,
going.
you were still in high school, or were you now in college when you
High school.
started?
I think high school. This was maybe junior year or going into senior year. Actually, it was senior year. That was the first double. And that.
And your friend who was a co-founder with you was
Hmm.
located in Ghana, and you were located
Yes.
in the US. How did you guys make that work?
Facebook. Facebook and Skype back then. We communicated a lot on Facebook. Skype was good for us, so we did a lot of Skyping back then. um we grew up together, so we were quite close. He was able to find the designers, and I took upon the tech aspect of making sure our website was together, and then our marketing in the US and in the UK. So through Facebook ads, through a friend of ours who was a web developer, built a platform for us, and we just kept on pushing from there. So he handled inventory locally, or handled signing on suppliers, and I handled distribution and sales.
And how did the business or the venture work out?
Um, First phase, we in the beginning there was a lot of excitement. We managed to be able to deliver, and as we were growing, there was some few things we noticed. Clothes that were ordered that were supposed to end up being an example, a blue outfit will be ordered. It will get to a customer to be green. Started occurring on a regular basis. And if anyone has stayed in Ghana or stayed in Africa before, you do know we do have a culture of sometimes when we ask a seamstress or a tailor to make something for us, they take their own upon themselves to make certain compromises for you without understanding the scope of it. That is not for us. This is the business, and the customers in the dashboard don't have the same behavior attitude as the customers locally. There are things that they'll say, "Oh, funny sir," what that means is just take it like that. Next time I'll give you a discount, and that was not cutting it for us. So that totally it broke us because we couldn't ship the products back to Ghana. That's a cost. So either we just take the products and then refund the customers and utilize it for either promo or utilize it for something else. So that was a big challenge for us.
So help us understand the business model. The customer goes, places the order, and the delivery is made directly from Ghana to the customer's doorstep. Is that
So
how
yes,
that's?
that was the first initial goal. We went, we saw the clothes, we did photo shoots for the clients because we noticed they were liking on that. So we took upon ourselves the photo shoots of their line of outfits. They always say, okay, we can make 10 of these because we have this amount of cloth. So that was a plan based on whatever inventory they tell us. When the customer demand comes in, we then will ship it because they will make it up on order because no one wanted to hold inventory. And what we noticed later on is when the color or whatever fabric we agree upon that hey, we're going to use, as soon as there's a demand outside our platform, they utilize the inventory for their customers. And when their order comes in, they just substitute with something else. So that was where we disconnected at. So instead of going directly to customers, we decided on the second round to do quality checks.
If I recall, this was what got you back to Ghana. Share with
Yes, sir.
us how that played out, how you returned back to Ghana.
Um, so at that point, we decided we needed more help. So we recruited a third co-founder who lived in UK, and she came with a lot of resources as well, like a lot of like excitement. She was trying to do something similar. We said, look, we just all come together. I'm in the US, Antoine is in Ghana, Rochelle is in the UK. That gives us a three very powerful locations. We all have resources, we all have access. We were overexcited to be able to raise some capital to bring home, to come and spend, to fix the logistics, fix inventory. We decided, I and Rochelle came back to Ghana for a few weeks. The goal was to just make it work. I have background and experience in global logistics and supply chain as well as retail. So I thought, okay, I can come here. I can take the skills that I acquired of my job at Home Depot to come and fix a supply chain issue. It's not going to be that difficult. It's manufacturing. It's from here to here to here to here. 5 points distribution system is going to be the way to go for us. We came. One thing that I learned really quick is in Ghana, a lot of people don't say no, even if they can't do it. So, especially if they seem to say, okay, these people will pay, even if they don't know how to do it, they believe they can do it. So they just say yes. That became a problem for us. We kept on paying for things that were never delivered. There were a lot of opportunities that we also saw that we thought we could fix. Um, we spread ourselves so saying, okay, we fix this, we fix it, fix this. In our minds, this shouldn't take that long. It's just like in the years, if there's a lot, there's something that is becoming a block in terms of supply or anything. You go in, you fix the issues, you find what is the bottleneck, and you fix it. The bottleneck here was the culture, not just the suppliers, not just anything. It was totally the culture and how we have accepted things over the years and how we have built our systems over the years. So that was more tougher than I anticipated. But through that I learned a lot in which took a few steps back to really build foundations before we moved.
You said the bottleneck was the culture. Can you tell us some more? What you mean by that?
um Supply chain is about timing, right? Like one of the biggest thing in anyone who's working in supply chain or logistics is timing. Because if you miss delivery here, it will affect delivery to the next point. It will affect supply to the next point. We live in a culture where we take our time. If you're given an appointment at 10 o'clock, the chances of you getting to meet the person at 10 is very low. If someone tells you delivery of clothes will be done at Tuesday, the chances of you getting on next Tuesday is quite high. And we lack that understanding. And one of our first promises with clients is we will deliver whatever you order in 2 weeks. With the understanding that it's going to take 3 days as our fashion partners are going to be able to produce within 3 days. It's going to take a day to package and then ship off. So that's how we built our model and didn't understand supplies and culturally we don't move like that. We don't. We just say the time without really meaning it. That was one. Those are other things that also affected. Capital is not easy to find here, as in everywhere else. SMEs don't necessarily get capital like usually other companies. Is if you're burning inventory, then even if you have traction, traction is not enough locally. You need actual profits to be able to even raise capital locally. So that was another challenge because our culture, we don't believe in traction is the best way. As you're growing, I'm going to just put in money. Now, the fastest any local investor wants to pay their capital out because they've been benched so many times. Those were a few of the things that really cost our growth.
Did you return after solving or addressing these logistics? And
Um,
if you tell us why, if not,
no. So during the process, we bent out really quick. We were just paying for problems and not taking our time. So we bent out on our initial capital that we had. Um, but at the same time, the other things that we started developing alongside Go to Africa were picking off quite fast. The services that we're providing for our own self in terms of even the media, because of my background and Antoine's background in media services and the brand positioning and the marketing that we were able to do with Go to Africa in the US, bringing those skills set locally, there were a lot of brands that were, knocking on our door to do what we're doing for our brand for. So that gave us a lot of opportunity. And I noticed I had a thought to myself, if I leave, I didn't feel we were structured enough or had systems enough to be able to maintain what we've been able to start it. So I asked if my mentor, I called my family and I told them, "Look, this is where I am. Um, it is a huge sacrifice. I was what 26, 27 then, not married. If they don't mind, I would love to stay home. Our father built a home that I know I could move in. I could turn into an office space or whatever it is. I had a mentor who believes in people coming home, and if you're born locally, his belief is if you're born locally, God put you here for a reason. And if certain talents and certain will have been given to you, it's upon you to do what it is best for your community and people. So those were stuck with me. Getting my mom's permission to stay was the only thing I needed. If she didn't give it to me, it would have really worried me. But she's saying, okay, she's worried, but she's going to give me permission. She's giving me a couple of years to see what I can do, and I just went straight for it. And to date, I have visited twice, but the first time was 5 years later. So it took some time to really, plant seeds. I and my partner really believe in slow growth. Over the years, we noticed really investing in growing, investing in really putting down roots is the way to go, not necessarily making too much noise or just not building the product or the systems or understanding the culture, understanding how the market works.
could you add a little more color to that for those of us who are not there and have not experienced that?
Okay. Like December, let me just take December alone in Ghana. I always say it turns into a tourist economy in December. Beyond all the economies that we have, the tourism economy becomes the number one economy in December because we do have where the entire diaspora black looks home. The entire diaspora looks home. There's millions of people who are traveling back home, are consuming our products, consuming our media, and taking those that entirety of our products with them. So that alone changes our market. Most locations outsell their products. Most manufacturers who manufacture good products out sell out of their product. That is what we call the cocoa season in Ghana. Like December is cocoa season. That's one. Currency is also a thing. When our currency is very volatile, unfortunately for us, when you when you are in manufacturing, you do learn that look, you have to find a way to also have foreign currency in your system because some of the goods that you will have to buy, even if it's packaging, yes, local companies are stepping up gradually. We will get there, but currently you do need to acquire some of your ingredients, not raw materials, but sometimes your packaging. Like there's no glass manufacturer in Ghana, and we do have some of our products manufactured in glass, so we have to bring it from China. That means we have to convert currency. And if I buy this amount of stock in January, in March, July, the possibility that the currency has increased the cost of bottles for me is quite high because we do sell locally. So purchasing power do fluctuate a lot in our market. even in consumers, because the cost of a product today in 6 months might not be the same just because of that. So purchasing power is very volatile. Culturally, we do not spend at certain times because we know we have to save our money. So there's a heavy drought in January because we've spent everything in December. There's a heavy drought in October because we are saving for December. So understanding these little nuances in the market, there's a spending spree in Easter time because we celebrate Easter very heavy. There's a spending spree in December because we spend heavy in December. Back to school is quite different in Ghana versus in America, how they go to school here. So understanding each market and where they purchase them. Mokola is a different market from Melcom. How people's purchasing behaviors are different on the streets versus in the retail stores. Taking your time to learn that, it's very interesting but tough.
What is your vision for the native group?
It took some time actually. Koto Afrik shut down within the first year. Um, when during that process, my partner and I, Antoine, we moved heavily into the music end. We I was hosting entrepreneurs, a few entrepreneurs that had come back. A partner of mine who from the US, the one who helped build the website. He also moved to Ghana to start his business called AMG Voice. So it was quite huge here. He started a whole revolution on how digital content goes in Ghana. And because both of us had moved during the same year in 2016 to Ghana, he managed to raise some capital through Y Combinator. So he was very excited and he was trying to also get more of our friends to move home. That there was a little community and we invited more people who had moved and met someone from Australia. His name was Red. He had started building a download, like an iTunes download platform for music. And we had digital radio, we had radio station partners and everything. We said, look, this is something that we wanted to do. Let's partner. But what we want is a streaming platform. So we partnered and launched a streaming platform during that period that ended up becoming one of the fastest growing music streaming platform on the continent. And that led into us, having an opportunity to start a TV station partnerships with some of our early partners and invested in that. So about six groups of companies, no, three groups of companies came together to build that platform, and we had a good ecosystem of media from newspaper, TV stations, radio station, and music streaming platforms. So that was where we were, and there was a lot of excitement. One thing I noticed and communicated is we were struggling finding advertising. The advertising model was a struggle, and with my background in retail and commerce, I felt we needed to find our own products because we're able to reach the entirety of Ghana, but without we struggle to even still bring on sponsorship because local market there's over at the point there was over 1,000 TV stations, like hundreds and hundreds of TV and radio stations, over 1,000 media companies around who were all just chasing, and the cost of advertising became very cheap because the cost of licensing for the TV stations were cheap. So I felt we could build with our own products. Most partners were not in that space, so my current partner and I decided to, start building Cheer Up, the Cheer Natives, a beverage company, and be able to utilize the ecosystem we've built. But prior to that, I stepped away from the entirety of Uptown. I told them, look, I'm being burnt out. It was 5 years of, signing deals with MTN, growing it to the point that we're going too crazy. But the leadership direction was going two ways. Either we go on the freemium or I believe we went on a subscription with MTN. And I had to step back from that new direction that the board felt that it had to go. So I stepped away from that and started the manufacturing fully with 100% focus there. That's how we started on that. So stepping away from media and all that, focusing on manufacturing, tapping back into my experience in logistics and retail, we managed to start with a first product called Cheer Up Iced Tea. And as we were building, my contact and clients from the media space and everything kept on coming back to us to help. So we decided like this would be a part-time gig for us. We kept on doing our part-time gigs that ended up turning up into another full-time job. So we basically had to establish our part-time gigs into another entity. Just like we're building systems here at the manufacturing, we started building systems for the media and event space where that is called Combinator. And eventually that was what also helped us actually push this forward because this was making more profits at a point where we were able to take some of our dividends to really reinvest to keep on building the manufacturing arm because we know and knew that that was the center of the company. And eventually, in order to grow, we realized we have to look at this as groups of company, because without looking at it from that point of view, you will be hopping from job to job. You needed to make everything have a focus being towards one goal, and that's what Native Group was born out of.
So Native Group uh, is a bundle of side hustles turned into a business.
Pretty much.
The
But the
reason
first
I
goal
put
was the
it that
business.
way,
Hmm.
there's so much side hustles going on the continent. Everybody
Yes,
believes they must have multiple side hustles, but
yes.
somehow you've managed to leverage your side hustles into a main hustle.
Yes.
Uh,
Honestly, I look at it at just everybody, even people who live in the United States. Most people I know either has a full-time and a part-time job. I feel just like if you look at it that way and you're able to structure it as one entity and making sure you're spending time here, it helps because the market is not as the Ghanaian market, the African market is like breathing. There's heavy times of lots of opportunities and there's times of no opportunities, no bread, no capital, no free market, no business energy in the environment. So you need to understand that you are in a different environment, and this is a very seasonal environment.
If you have a business idea but feel overwhelmed or unsure where to begin, you are not alone. Arise, powered by D2V, helps aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those starting from scratch, move from idea to action through a clear step-by-step path to building a real business with practical guidance and mentor support along the way. If you're tired of guessing and ready for structure, clarity, and momentum, explore the Arise mobile app. You can find Africa2100 Arise on the Google Play Store today and take your next step with confidence.
as a business owner, the success of most businesses is based on predictability and stability. How do you now, given these fluctuations in customer demands and what's going on in the marketplace, how have you figured out a way to introduce and give yourself that balance, or your business that balance, to ensure or get the predictability you need for success?
Few things. I think the number one thing that we did was take our time. We do not spend without understanding. If you've been going to Mokola, an example, it's a different market as entering a store like Maxima. So we really do take our time to understand how each retailer or distribution partner's market behave, because they all serve very, very different markets. Just like the States, North Carolina's market is different from Chicago market. How what people want to buy, what people want to eat is the same. Accra and Kumasi's consumer behaviors are quite different. Accra and Takrady consumer markets are quite different as well. The rural and the urban areas consumption markets are different. One, taking our time to understand that. Secondly, two is hedge. We try to hedge as much as possible, finding our other company does services for global markets, so we do bring in some foreign currency. In manufacturing too, we've been working on distribution to foreign markets. An example, I know you will, as a Nigerian, you will love some authentic, well packaged Nigerian products that will really serve you. Reminds you of home. So we have that diaspora target that we've been working on. I was in the States a couple of months ago, just visiting a bunch of the retailers and distributors, and finding ways and means to enter the US market. Same for the UK, we've been working on that. So we've been developing products specifically to serve those markets and packaging, so that we have a dual seat in currency, because having a currency that can help bring in stable currency and also working with local currency, you do need help in that regard. You can't necessarily just say, "Hey, I just need dollar," but at the same time, you need to be cautious and making sure that you're stable locally before you look at the diaspora market. Else, you might, if the diaspora market is what it is, you might as well just move and just be co-packaging or manufacture outside, and that does not set the purpose in which we are trying to.
So I'm hearing you expanding globally, leveraging the global markets to mitigate the currency risks. You are understanding your customers and
Yeah.
investing or generating multiple products depending on the customer segments and
Yes.
opportunities that exist,
Yes,
all
please.
to get to that balance that
Yes.
your business requires.
Yes.
What's your vision for the native group?
Um, my my personal vision is to make sure that we build a sustainable ecosystem where there's one ownership across the entire value chain. And when I see this ownership is we want to do this through partnerships. We is not trying to just say, hey, we are going to build a conglomerate that is owned by just a few people. We want to have a co-op, a farming community, manufacturers that come together based on their recipes and ideas, and we scale it. An example, one of our products was made by one of our team members in the company that we thought of. We will give you royalties on every single thing that we sell for life, because at the end of the day, if this product picks up, that is life changing for her and the entire family. That is how we see it. We believe community is the best way to go, and economically for us locally, if we are not able to do it this way, I don't see how we'll be able to grow across any companies, because you can't just take money out of the system. You need to pump in money. You need to make sure that the entire community is thriving in order to be able to grow beyond just you. So that's the
Af-
vision we have.
African Unilever was a term I heard you use.
When people ask me like what are the companies we look up to, I do say like we love what Unilever has been able to do. Not necessarily how they went by, but how they in the beginning how they were able to just build other brands and partner with other brands and build a well distributed company. We want to do it with partnerships, with local partnerships, finding local brands that want to partner, finding local partners that want to build in their little space and build together.
And you recently added a firm to your multiple ventures. Can you help us understand the strategy behind that decision?
So from what we've been able to build so far at every stage, as anybody who has come onto Ghana or Nigeria, Kenya, Ivory Coast, everywhere understands there's so many opportunities within any industry. One thing that we discovered for us was when we started manufacturing, finding supplies was quite tough. But when we got into like ginger is one of our biggest products that we add to our manufacturing. When we started, we were taking up ginger at 650 cities. Um, as of today, we speak. Um, Last year, it actually went to 1,200 cities. As of today, as we speak, it is at 3,000 cities per the same amount of volume of product. So one thing that we always knew we were going to get into farming was we always knew we were going to get into farming. At the rate at inflation was going and cost of living pushed our hands to get into it faster. And one thing that my partner always believed in is she believes that women in Ghana, and 100% true, are the center of the homes. And being able to give women in rural areas and in other communities an opportunity to actually own a piece of a business or a piece of program, it's where we wanted to take a direction. So what we've done is build a program called Hair Harvest. We've been able to secure about 5 acres in Ghana, 75 in Liberia. There's also another um, about 21 acres in Ghana that we're working on, where we are finding women and training them through the agricultural processes and apportion a piece of land to them for that, and as well as supplying them with the necessary things they need to be able to start farming in partnership with us. We do have a team of agri engineers and agro engineers who actually know the skill set, who are teaching and managing the farms with them in order for them to be able to get to a point that they can manage themselves. I think that we're doing is also having an offtake by us. So before we even start, we already know that we have offtakes through our manufacturing and distribution system. So this is guaranteed uptakes for the farmers. We do have a revenue split with them every harvest. They do get their portion, and then we get our portion because we do make sure that monies are being spent that are recouping, so that we don't put ourselves into debt. So the program is quite simple: women farming and remanufacturing and distribution to the global system. It's something that I think you should speak to her about. She's quite passionate about it. I'm quite passionate about it. It is our new baby. Being able to work with incredible people on this program has so far has been very enjoyable.
If you are looking ahead, Roland, where do you see the native group in 10 to 20 years?
Multiple pockets of communities who are centered around manufacturing. So an example is, I believe, Eastern region. That's our first place in which we starting with the farms. We believe industries are what will develop our communities across the continent. So taking our manufacturing to Eastern region, the farming will be able to say, okay, this manufacturing product will be based here. The land here does well with these types of crops. These are the products we'll be able to manufacture. I believe we'll be able to have a few of these remote communities and across the globe in 10 years, where there's manufacturing, there's media, and then there's security for the community in which they are building their own spaces and partnerships with us.
And if you had to explain this to your father could see everything you've done to date, what do you think he will say about what you're building today?
Hmm. I think he would say I should focus and be kind with my decisions. He was quite big on kindness, so um, making decisions with kindness is something that I actually make sure I keep remembering, because you we can't develop home without kindness. I believe we have to be patient with our people first and foremost. We have to be patient with our system. We have to be patient with our currency. We are literally, Ghana is 54 years old. Sometimes I feel as diasporans, when we come home, we forget the fact that we are still a developing country and we have the same expectations as a as if we were living in the US, and as if we have the technology at our beck and call us. We do forget we are gems still developing. So I think those words are something that he will ring in my head. Be kind and stay focused.
Since you brought up empathy, um, how are you demonstrating empathy to the community? How are you paying it forward?
Um, I I hardly ever talk about charity works that we do. Honestly, we 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 pay for things that we have to pay for. There are things that shouldn't be difficult. An example: if you have a team, if people need education, you pay for it if you can. If people need healthcare, you pay for it if you come. You do have to make sure whatever it is that we are doing, it's designed for the community, not just for us. A harvest is an example designed for the community. Well, most of the proceeds are going back in the community, supplying our factories. Um, doing donation on the quiet end is also quite important. I believe the more you give, the more your community stays stabilized. So that's big for us, and also keeping the promise of good quality products. A lot of people always want to take the shortcut. It won't help in the long run if you're poisoning your community with crap, in terms of bad food, in terms of bad packaging, talk of knowing that this is in the long run is going to really cost your consumer. That is wrong. That is like really wrong. So quality still has to be maintained. Just because you feel like people are going to take the products because that's the best price. No, it has to be the best product at the best price. No way around it. You have to in order to be sustainable here.
You talked about gaps in the, not just in the infrastructure, you've talked about gaps in available skill set.
Yes.
Uh, and I know there are things you're doing. Is that something you can share with us to start to bridge some of these gaps, whether it's
Yes.
in skill set?
Yes. So, in the media space in which we're currently working on doing it in the manufacturing space, in the media space, we run a bunch of master classes and programs to help educate the executive wing of media in Ghana. One thing that I personally found early on in the early days when I moved in this space is there's not enough lack there's a lot of lack of investment in media management in Ghana, music management, um, across the entire creative economy. There's not a lot of investment been in there for some time. So this time coming around to make sure it wasn't as challenging for us, because back in Aftown's days when we were discussing with artists and artist management, the publishing law, the royalties and everything seems to be news to people who were career musicians, that I found very okay. We need a lot more work than I anticipated. So taking time to take a step back to at least, if there's the knowledge I have and I have resources and ability to put on partners, let's put out education. So over the past few years, we managed to put together a bunch of classes and programs for master mixing and mastering engineering courses with partners with high-end studios locally, and as well as the master class at with partnership with British Council last year and some years back in Afrofuture. We've been able to manage between 300 to 500 people so far in music management, mass mixing and mastering engineering, and art of music business. We have we constantly do that in order to find out good talent as well too. That's been a good recruitment for us. Through these programs, we found people who if you find you have the drive, we'll be able to personally bring you on board the team and then give you as much resources. So education in here is very key. Like your program, for instance, when you um Captain Marvin it sent me the profile of that, as you could tell, I was very excited because that is what we need. We do need people coming to help us take the next generation of talent and catch up. As much as our education system is working, the private institutions need to also help the government. 100%. Platforms like yours is very key for us to catch up. Very key for us to identify the key talents that are actually going to take us forward. I believe, just like the US, the titans of the US being Ford, being um, Morgan Chase, the Morgans, the Carnegies. These were the people who need, honestly, if you read history, changed the trajectory of where US is today. And through the same ideology, if we find and invest in local entrepreneurs, find and invest, it's not just money that is needed, knowledge, network. That is how we change this continent. That's my 100% belief. The people. It's not the money.
Thank you for your candor. So when you look back at ever since you returned, is there anything you would do differently based on the outcomes you've experienced so far, looking back?
Um, One, that I would have taken my time, transition back home. Um, I would have two, encouraged more people to take their time when they came back home. The first thing it would have been like I would have gone into manufacturing first, actually. Yes. Rather than the media. 100% would have done manufacturing first. I believe
Why?
that would it is more the the fancy business are all fancy or not, but the what we need locally is the services, is the infrastructures, is the core B2Bs that we need to be able to scale our economy. An example, they're one of the biggest company in Ghana collects trash, Zoom Lion. And there's so much space still available in that market because collection, I pay what per collection per a bin is 80 cities a month. And on my streets alone, the number of collections they make, and the streets behind me, the number of collections they make, and they're still not able to finish collecting alone. That there's some these guys on bikes also doing the collection, and people are paying. So there is basic things that we need to help keep the things that we need, but there's not enough entrepreneurs who are saying, okay, I'm going to Ghana to go and collect trash. I have never heard anyone say I'm going to Ghana to go and build a trash collection company. But it's not just trash collection, it's actually managing a whole entire inventory system, managing a whole entire collection system. It's a whole logistics company rather than people looking at trash. Or I run a logistics company that collects trash. And so I believe that the basics are the ones that we need to come in and look at. Entrepreneurs who are looking into manufacturing, looking into infrastructure building, looking into building schools, looking into building um, stuff just like Zoom Lion, looking into cleaning, into constructions. Those are the basic businesses that we need.
So don't ignore the unsexy business.
Not at all. Not at all. Those are what actually makes money. One of my uncles used to tell me all the time, like, yeah, I like all the media things you're doing, but focus on this. That was always what I was told. I like all the media stuff. Those that is the secondary business. Your main business is this. So I wish I did like day one manufacturing.
Are there any products that you've generated or that you have on the shelves that people should look out for if they want to experience what you manufacture?
Yes. Cheer up iced tea. It's if you don't mind, I could grab one right
Please.
behind me. So we have a few products. These are our iced teas. Sharp iced tea. This is a beverage, all natural. No preservatives, no added color, no nothing. I don't know if you know about hibiscus. Locally, so we've made our version of the hibiscus tea. It is light, it is not thick, it is very refreshing. So we have these in the markets. If anyone is visiting Ghana this December, you will find these on the shelves as well. We are distributed in Melcom.
Same, same hibiscus. Just about every home, at least in Nigeria, it just about every home has a hibiscus
Yes, yes.
shrub. Right. Okay.
Yes, and we do have our sauce, our spices coming out this December as well too. Our ready to export hot sauces, which should be in the shelves in March in the US. So we are looking forward to people trying it out. Everything we do is all natural, no preservatives, everything organic. That's our goal to make sure we make the best product for our people because our goal is to feed our people healthy.
Finally, what advice would you give to Africans in the diaspora who wish to return home and build, but may be concerned about the needed support?
Um, do not be afraid. First and foremost, the market is it's open. Do not afraid, but one is respect the people. One complaint that I always get from a lot of locals who deal with diaspora investors or diaspora partners is the I don't know how to say this. Unfortunately, there's a little, especially I don't know if you've experienced it. There's a little sense of superiority complex put into some diasporans when they move back home and feel that, oh, I know better. That deters people from working with you locally. They will just say yes to you. You will just become a yes sir, yes sir. You end up having a one man business. Local knowledge is everything here. Um, Finding the people who are even selling on the street and just spend an hour with them, you will understand that the market is actually locally thriving, but you just need to understand where to do business and who to do business with. Secondly, find a partner. Um, Finding a partner is actually very helpful because most of the time, the network and someone like me, I didn't go to school here, so I don't have that network that most my partner has. My partner has incredible network locally as well too. So putting together our network, our resources, our knowledge, our skill sets. It's been very key for us to be able to grow. Another thing I'll also advise is currency. Um, do not come and invest, or do not say I'm taking dollar investment and I want dollar back. That is not a long-term good business model. You need to invest in local currency. And if you are thinking of taking a loan in dollar, understand that deflation will kill currency. Inflation will kill your business model, because if you're taking a loan at maybe 5 to 7%, locally inflation will kill you about, you lose about 20% of the value year on year if you're dealing with cities. So you need to understand the currency you're dealing with before you go and take a loan in another currency that will be burning at a more expensive rate than you can afford to pay back.
So could you share a little more detail on that? When you say you will suffer 20% loss on the Ghana cities, what's,
Um,
give us a little more detail.
since our currency changed from, I think, 2007, they brought the city pegged next to the dollar. So this was a dollar in Ghana in 2007, and this was a city. Over the years, on the average, if you do the math, it's about 19% in terms of value loss for the city. So what we found is the dollar has stayed where it is, and the city kept on dropping in value, and it's been consistent for all those years. If you invested $1 million and converted that money in city at the same rate today, you have lost all the way to your $1 million. You will have to work over 12 times the amount. You have to generate over 12 times the amount that you intended to generate to be able to get back that $1 million. So
So the impact of currency devaluation.
very, very huge. I mean, our first round of partnership, the money that we invested were in dollars. The dollar was at that time 5.6, and 3 years later, it was basically 10. Within 3 years, that 5.6 was 10. So we knew, okay, this doesn't work. It doesn't, the model of taking dollar to build locally doesn't necessarily work. We need to stabilize our country by one, eating local, two, manufacturing and utilizing local resources, and three, reducing our dependency on things that we can literally provide locally. There are so many things that we can provide locally, and a lot of people do still buy water from Kirkland water. Like there's so much heavy burden on our local cities due to importation. So sexy business is not fun.
And I think you said earlier on exportation. So trying to shift things out to
Yes,
balance the FX dependency.
exactly.
So
Yes.
FX is coming in at the same time.
So through that FX, that's where you buy your equipment. That's where you buy your high-end packaging that you can't. It's not made locally, and then you run your operations on the city you generate, from the local supplies to your payrolls to your marketing to everything. You burn locally, and then use your dollar for investment and growth.
Any final words for us, Roland?
If anything, be patient. If you're looking into Ghana, and try and find partners that will make sense. And if you can and you have a team, please, if you're in diaspora, help pay for entrepreneurs who are coming up in education. Not someone like myself, but a generation behind me could really need um, mentorship. If you are in the US, the UK, wherever you are, if you have a skill set, take a mentee. Take a mentee and impact a little knowledge on them. You never know where that relationship might grow to. You never know the knowledge you acquire from them too. But let's be very open and understand at this stage in our continent's development, we are the stepping stone. So let's humble ourselves and be real with where we are, and just be stepping stones for the next generation.
Thank you so much. What a way to close out the dialogue. I've thoroughly enjoyed discussions and learning more about your journey. It's
Thank
quite remarkable. For
thank you, sir.
those of you listening, hopefully you got some nuggets here. Roland advises you to be patient, take your time to understand the local environment. Don't come in feeling like you know everything. Learn from the people. They want you to succeed,
Yes,
and
they do.
they take some delight in your success. So give them the opportunity to truly partner with you and work with you. Additionally, he shared some of the typical challenges and pitfalls, what to be looking for or be alert about, and how to go about mitigating it by taking a look at what he's done with his venture, or as I like prefer to say, his conglomerate that he's building. And I'm hopeful and looking forward to having this chat again with him in another 10 years to see how he's achieved his vision,
Looking
because
forward to it
he
too.
has something going here, and I have every confidence he's going to achieve it.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you,
again,
sir.
my pleasure. Again, I am Chudi Obie, the host of Africa2100 Podcast, and if you enjoyed this conversation, please remember to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one.